creation, I'm a brand new man. Old things are passed away, I am born again. More than a conqueror, that's who I am. I'm a new creation, I'm a brand new man.
Welcome to the Spirit of Life broadcast. I'm Brother Richard Black. Welcome to the show today. I'm going to get right into this today. Been watching television for 2 days, Fox News, MSNBC, and all the rest of them. 17 people are dead, kids, children, at a school down in Florida. A 19-year-old boy, man, he's an adult, they say. 18, he's an adult. 17, he was close to being it, but 16, he was not an adult. So why are people, kids, young people, in a very affluent neighborhood going in and killing a bunch of people in schools? The first thing that happens is nobody seen it coming. Well, anybody in the know, like law enforcement or FBI, CIA, anything, anybody in the school system didn't see it coming, but they really did. The kids in the school didn't see it coming, but they really did. Facebook pages, Twitter pages, people didn't see it coming, but they really did. So the first thing we got to do with the liberal Democrats, progressives, is gun control, gun control, gun control, and more gun control, which wouldn't stop anything. I had a gun and a shotgun in my patrol car when I was a cop for 20 years. And my guns didn't stop anybody from hurting anybody else, but it sure helped them not hurt me. But let's get rid of the gun control idea. It will not work. Getting rid of clips will not work, because there was one time in society hundreds of years ago where there were no guns, but someone invented one. And now that they have invented it, it's on the internet. It will show you how to completely make a firearm, rifle, gun, shotgun, whatever. All the schematics are in there, and they will show you how to make a gun if you don't go to the gun store and buy one. But, you know, you can get them in Russia, Germany, China. You can get them in Pakistan, Afghanistan, any other stand. Guns are everywhere. Then they want to come back and say the boy was mentally ill because, you know, if you murder 17 people, something's got to be wrong with you, right? But kids in school do not want to rat people out, and they didn't. People in school, kids in school never thought, yeah, he would really do that. Teachers in school that had problems with this kid, what did they do? They expelled him. 19 years old, still in school, they expelled him. They did. They got him out of there. Threat gone. Bye. Too relaxed these days. Too unconcerned these days. Never happened here. Most of these school shootings happen in affluent societies, neighborhoods, and schools. Check them out. Check them out. People who have a lot of money can have a lot of guns. Their kids can have guns. Should a 19-year-old be able to buy rifles, guns, pistols, whatever? Well, the law says he can. There's nothing on his file that says he's not able to buy a gun, so he does. You know, a completely healthy, sane person can buy a gun when he's 19. And when he's 20, something can happen in his life that just makes him go off the deep end. 19-year-old loses his girlfriend who he's been abusive to. She has a new boyfriend. This gentleman goes over and gets in a fight with him. How traumatic is losing a girlfriend to a 19-year-old? How mad, upset, and hurt do they get? Especially if he's been abusive, nobody's going to have her but me. I'll kill him. I saw a picture of him where he had on a T-shirt, and the pictures on the shirt were all of the dictators, communists, people who killed their own, jailed their own, imprisoned their own, like Mao, like the leader of North Korea. Russia had the Russian flag on his shirt, had the crescent moon on his shirt, had all these dictators on his shirt, all these people who've killed masses of people. That's who he was following in his mind, in his own mind. Antifa. He wanted to dress up like Antifa. Well, what kicked him off, I think, my opinion, is that the girlfriend leaving him for somebody else is what really is the straw that broke the camel's back, but we don't know. In the book of John, chapter 10, verse 7, Jesus said unto them, Again, verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. Now listen to this. I am the door. By me, if any man enters, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. But the thief cometh not for to steal, kill, and to destroy. So there's a thief out there. There's a demonic thief. Nobody wants to talk about demon possession, demon influence, ungodly influence, selfish behavior influence. Nobody wants to talk about the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit murder, thou shalt not steal. But I'm here to tell you that when I was a teenager and I fell in love as a teenager, 14, 15, 16 years old, greatest thing in my life was finding a girlfriend. The most horrible thing in my life was losing that girlfriend to someone else. That just made me beat the dashboard off my mama's car because I lost a girlfriend when I was 14 years old. It's something else. It's traumatic. It's hurtful. It's painful. It's rejection at the highest point of a teenager's life. And if we don't get parents, so you don't have a single, you have a single parent, some don't have single, some just have grandma. He was 18, 19, he could live what he wanted, live where he wanted, do what he wanted, say what he wanted. He was on Twitter. He showed pictures of multiple guns. That's not a crime. He showed pictures, he was proud of all of his guns. He showed them on the internet. But when he starts putting words to it, like I'm going to do this, or I can do that, or I can kill people, or I can blow people up, blah, blah, blah. He had been expelled from school. He was a troubled young man all of his life, they say. Well, let me just run by this. Maybe there's a cop out there, maybe there's a sheriff out there, chief of police, somebody watching this, but let me run this by you. When I was a deputy, and I wasn't even a juvenile officer, I noticed we had a lot of kids in the neighborhood that were the same kids all the time getting into trouble. You know, stealing, skipping school, not going to school, misbehaving, getting in trouble with law enforcement out in the community. So I just went on my own and went to the school resource officer and to the principal and says, can I have a list of all the students in this school that are troublemakers or problem children that you deal with on a regular basis? And they gave me that list. Amazingly, it was the same kids that law enforcement was having problems with in the neighborhood. So I took it upon myself to get past reports on all these kids and what they had done and to whom they had done it to, who they were dating, who their girlfriends were. I found that out through just communicating with the teenagers in the neighborhood. And I got the reports from the school, I got reports from law enforcement, and lo and behold, all of them are about the same people. So then I went and started talking to these people who seemed to be the troublemakers and telling them, educating them that now that I know who you are and you're out here constantly and you're a problem in school and out of school, I'm going to keep records on you. I'm going to get them from law enforcement. I'm going to get them from the school system. And every time you're in trouble, I'm going to come and I'm going to talk to you and see you and try to, tell you where you're going, where you're heading. And then I would inform other law enforcement officers. I had one kid, 15 years old. He came from Georgia over to South Carolina because he was so much trouble in Georgia that they put him in jail. He was selling drugs in jail. So they come to South Carolina, to my district, and he didn't ever go to school in my district because he hid all the transfer papers from Georgia. He beat his mother 5 times, breaking her lips, her nose, domestic abuse, domestic violence, and law enforcement kept charging him, but turning back over to the mother he was beating up. Think about that. Eventually, I got involved in it. The sheriff told me to get involved in it. And I finally went and pulled all his records and took him to juvenile court. He was 15 years old and had a stack of cases about this high where he'd done a lot of stuff, misdemeanor stuff, Stole a car, stole some county property, didn't go to school, beat up his mother. Well, I finally got him into juvenile court. He didn't think he could go to jail. He was a teenager, didn't think we could do nothing to him. But the bottom line was I got him in front of a juvenile judge, put all those cases in front of the judge. Judge sent him to the Department of Justice, juvenile justice, till he was 21 years old. Mom cried that she was now free to watch TV in her trailer. She cried because she was now free to go and come as she pleased. Because before, she was imprisoned by this 15-year-old boy who wouldn't let her out of her bedroom, wouldn't let her watch TV, wouldn't let her eat when she wanted to eat. He was the man. But how do you find all that out? Because you go and see what the neighborhood, law enforcement neighborhood knows about him. What's he into? I called the state of Georgia where he was from, and they told me who he was and sent me all of his records. And told me exactly who he was and what he was, and he wasn't going to straighten up. Was he mentally ill? No. You do understand there are people who are just mean, nasty. They're liars, they're thieves, they're murderers. They are demonically influenced by a devil, a demon, Satan, Lucifer. Nobody wants to talk about that. Let's don't put the 10 Commandments up in school. They might read it and adhere to thou shalt not kill or love your neighbor as yourself. We wouldn't want that kind of information getting out in the school system, would we? We wouldn't want teachers to teach, look, there's a moral thing going on here that says thou shalt not kill. You shouldn't take a life. Life is important. Fathers, if you're going to have a child, you father that child. Mother, see where the marriage comes in? Mom, dad, children, church, Though society has dictated that we are better, smarter than the Christian, smarter than the Bible, smarter than God. And we don't need to say all these things that are hurtful or offensive to people. Can I ask you a question? Can I lay this out there? How offensive was Columbine? How offensive was Las Vegas? How offensive was this school, 17 people? You think them 17 dead people are offended? Do you think their mothers and fathers are offended? You think their grandmothers are offended? I don't know why we're not offended at the Republican or the Democrats and the progressives, who all they want to talk about is the gun, the thing, the item. You find out 35,000 people die every year in car crashes, but they don't say let's ban the automobile because that's ridiculous. But they'll put the drunk driver in jail, take his license from him, but he'll still drive until he does it so much they'll put him in jail for the rest of his life. In our law enforcement, we are a reactive society. Law enforcement reacts to a phone call where somebody complains about somebody did something to somebody. Look at all the cops that responded to the shooting. City, county, FBI. All came, the SWAT teams and all the tanks and all the stuff they got there. They came after the fact to do their job. That is what the law says. You can only respond to a crime after it has happened. How do you know this person's going to do that on that day? Well, you know that by law enforcement and the school officials working together to know who the problem child is in school and knock off this political corruption crap and let people talk about the problem child. He has his rights. 17 people had rights. 50-something people in Las Vegas had rights. Columbine, those kids there had rights. Why do you want to protect the right of the man that's doing the killing? So if you do what I call law enforcement before the fact, if I know as a cop who the bad guys are constantly in the neighborhood, but I can't do nothing until they do something wrong. And I know those same people are the bad guys in school, but I can't do anything till they do something wrong. The school resource officer, he can't do anything till the kids do something wrong. And then the principal of the school is like the mayor of a town, and the cop basically works for him. And if the principal of the school and the teachers don't want to charge a kid with a crime because it'll hurt the reputation of the school, then the kid goes free and the cop's just really sitting in his office doing paperwork. Could you put a fence around the school compound and have one gate where everybody drives in and out and have, you know, it's like they do at an Army base or Air Force base. They have a gate everybody has to drive through and the guards have to check them out. And would you have a list of all these bad kids in the neighborhood and all these bad kids in the school at that gate to see, well, I got a picture of you and you're a real troubled kid. You know, do you let him in? How did he get into school? Who let him in the door? How did he get in there with a gas mask and an AR-15? By the way, AR does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for the name of the person that made the rifle, originally invented the rifle. Anything you assault somebody with, like a stick, it's an assault stick. If I hit you with a rock, it's an assault rock. If I shoot you with a pistol, it's an assault pistol. If I assault you, the name of the word is assault and battery. So whatever, if I hit you with my fist, that's an assault fist. Anything that will shoot anybody and kill them. You don't arrest the rifle, you take it and you lock it up and don't let the guy have it back, that's true. But you arrest the person who did the assaulting with the rifle. You don't arrest the rifle and let the person go. Our society of political correctness, refusing to have any spiritual correctness. If we don't get God back in our schools, back in our kids, back in our families, back in our churches, this is not going to stop. You cannot stop an ambush you don't know anything about. But you can certainly stay on there, get Facebook and Twitter and all those people who's got billions of dollars to do what they do. If I'm on there and I'm showing all my guns and then I'm adding things to it, like dressing up like Antifa or dressing up like a criminal or dressing in all black or whatever and looking all tough, if they see that, why they can't forward that to the local law enforcement in that town and say, we're kind of disturbed about this. I can tell you an experience I had a couple of years ago here where I live. I seen some guy on Facebook and he was showing his rifle and he really looked kind of weird to me, and I'm a 20-year veteran of law enforcement. I called the FBI and told them about it and they just blew me off. Oh well, no big deal. So if you're going to get blown off by the FBI or law enforcement, they don't want to be bothered with you. Is that helpful? No. So if you call and report something you think is wrong, they just said, ain't no big deal. What are you going to do? Are we serious? One school resource officer in every school in our school system is not going to get it. They're only there from time school opens till time school closes. They know who the troubled kids are, but they can't do anything until there's trouble or something's reported. Just like out here outside the school system. There are law enforcement inside a society we call schools. The principal's like a mayor, the teachers are like part of his council, law enforcement like the chief of police in the school, and he's only called when there's a problem. If the principal and if the school system wants it reported in law enforcement, then it might get in the newspapers, and if it does, oh my God, we got a bad reputation. So a lot of things are hidden from law enforcement by the systems to keep their schools and their colleges out of the newspapers. I know that. I know it's factual. So if the general public does not get involved in their school system, in their school board, and demand more attention given, forget if it's embarrassing to the school, embarrassing to the principal, embarrassing to the teachers. Is it embarrassing to go to 17 funerals? Is it embarrassing to have 17 children dead in your school? Because you're not going to hide that from the general public. Do we have serious communication between our school systems and the parents of the people who's going to school, and even bring the kids in on that discussion and say, we need to know what you know when you know it, because you can't keep this stuff hidden anymore. We're not going to tell the bad guys who you are or who reported them. You can do it anonymously. You can just call up and say, this is anonymous. But I think you need to look into this guy or this girl. Folks, we live in an ungodly time with a whole bunch of ungodly people. And when I mean ungodly, people have no knowledge of God whatsoever. They have no inkling of self-control, spiritual self-control. They don't have any absolutes, right and wrongs, day and night, dark and light. They say it's the parents. Well, most of them don't have parents. They have a parent who had kids when they were teenagers because they didn't have any parents. The school teacher can't be the parent. They're young, right out of college, a lot of them. A lot of them are elderly and old, but they've already raised their kids. Listen, we all hate this. We all hate murder. We hate crime. We hate kids being killed. We hate anybody being killed. But do we hate it to the point that we're willing to look at the people that's doing the killing, who they are, where they come from, who raised them? Anytime a kid is in school at 18 or 19 years old and he's still in high school, there's a problem. But should a 19-year-old who's still in school be able to go buy a gun? I don't think so. If you go in there and pull his school record, and the schools say, we're going to send these names to the FBI or to the local, SLED, law enforcement, and say, these are problem kids, please don't let them buy a gun. If you got law enforcement involved in these juvenile lives, oh, I forgot, you can't open a juvenile's record. You can't divulge a juvenile's problem. You can't tell him what crimes he's committed because he's a kid, he's a child, he's an adolescent, he's young. So we can't really put that information out there because they're young. Jesse James was young. Billy the Kid was young. Al Capone was young when he started being a gangster. Most people who are gangsters did it when they were teenagers. Listen, if we don't wake up to reality, and I can tell you every Democrat out there, Nancy Pelosi, all them people have security guards, have CIA looking out after them. They all got guns protecting them, so don't go along with that crap. The White House is surrounded by guns and airplanes and all kind of computer stuff that if a gun goes off, the computers will point to where the firearm went off at. They're so protected, it's unreal. But your kids in schools are not. Lock all the doors. Don't let nobody in after the bell rings. If you're going to have a fire drill, maybe the adults should be in charge of it instead of somebody just being able to go out in the hallway and pull something. If you have one fire drill, I don't remember ever having two in any one day in my school career. I am of the opinion, I know most people are not, but I am, if somebody's in there shooting people, people are going to die. 17 people die. How many would have died if 17 people would have attacked him with that gun? What does law enforcement do? They come in and attack the problem. They come in and shoot at the problem. Maybe schools being treated like little cities because you got these big complexes. You got grammar school, middle school, high school, all in the same 100-acre area. Maybe there needs to be a law enforcement school agency that has a 12-hour shift, and there's like 10 cops on that campus, and they're in all the schools all the time. And let the school system pay for it, let them have their own police force, let them be certified by the state like everybody else. But that's their job, that's where they work. They have a chief of police, they have a whole agency of law enforcement in the school system. Is that what we've come to? Well, if it saves one life, then it's worth it. Put a big fence around the place and don't let anybody drive in except one way and go out one way. Make it difficult. I don't care if you do it with a thumbprint. They got to come through that gate and put a thumbprint up there. And if it's the wrong thumbprint or the wrong name pops up as a troublemaker, he don't get in. Sound like a police state, don't it? Well, maybe we've come to the point where in some agencies, like I said, New York City, Sean Hannity says he can't get in any building in New York City without an ID card and proving who he is. Think about that. So look, the thief comes to kill, steal. The thief is the devil. So the devil, I think, is influencing all these young people with the guns to go out there and prove I'm somebody. I'm going to get all your attention. You're going to love me whether you like me or not. I'll show you who I am, by God. Blah, blah, blah. You know. If you took all the guns, they would do it with knives. Took all the knives, they'd do it with swords. Stephen in the Bible was stoned to death. Didn't have guns in Jesus' day. They had bows and arrows, and they had spears, they had fiery darts. Whatever it is, if somebody wants to kill a bunch of people, they're going to find a way to do it. They're driving cars up through the streets of New York and killing 10, 20, 30 people with a car. Banning things don't do it if you don't teach people the consequences of their sin. I'm Richard Black. This is the Spirit of Life broadcast. I apologize that I did not preach a sermon today, but I guess I did in some ways. God loves you. Jesus is Lord, the devil's a liar. And we, the people, have got to get off our behinds and do something about these killings, and let's find out who they are before they kill. In Jesus' name. God loves you. I love you. I am passionate about this. There are ways to interdict into the neighborhood who's bad out there before they do real bad, and who's good, and go after the bad in the school, in the neighborhood. Put a law enforcement group in charge of those bad kids and keep them out there consistently. Amen. I'm
a new creation, I'm a brand new man. Old things are passed away, I am born again. More than a conqueror, that's who I am. I'm a new creation, I'm a brand new man. Oh, hallelujah, he redeemed me. I am born again to